Hello everybody, today I'm going to do a tutorial on how to repair a frozen Furby Boom Crystal Series, Furbacca, or a 2012 Furby. Now, I will say that on certain 2012s, it is very difficult to get the motors out to actually fix this problem. Specifically like the earlier ones, like this one right here. I actually don't know if this is possible. We're going to attempt it, and then I'll explain how we did it. And then this 2012, I also don't know if it's going to be as easy. Usually 2012s are just a little bit more difficult to get the motor out. The clip and the motor, you know, where the wire leads to like the little chip on the board, it's usually in a different spot on the 2012 than it is on the Boom. On the Boom, it goes from the motor to a little board. It's like really easy to take out. But then on the 2012s, it's usually underneath a ton of other wires. And what's one big problem with this one is that there's a ribbon cable here, and I really don't like the fact that I'm going to have to touch that, because it's never really a good idea to touch ribbon cables, especially on something like this, but I might have to do that. So anyway, I'm going to show basically the problem, because that's what this video is about. This problem happens it's very common. Like, it's probably, I don't know what is more common, the mute issue or this. They both seem extremely common. Most people that have a problem with their Boomer 2012 usually are talking about this or the mute issue, which is the speaker. And they also get a problem with their tilt sensor, where they constantly think you're shaking them. And I have no clue how to even locate the tilt sensor, because there's a video tutorial, but it does not actually show the tilt sensor. And I don't know how people thought that was helpful, because I need to actually see where it is, and I need to see how to get it out, because I found a black box on the side of the Furby, but I can't figure out how to get the sensor out. Basically, the tilt sensor, it's a little bearing from what I understand. It's either on the left or right side, but I cannot get it out. Yeah, it's on the left or right side of the Furby, like on the inside, from what I understand. Now, here's the thing. This problem can either mean two things. It can either mean that the motor is dead, it completely blew out, which basically means the same thing, or it's just locked up. More often than not, though, it means it's dead. And on the Booms, usually on the Booms, their voice crackles when they're frozen, and I really don't understand why. I think that the speaker and motor are connected in some way, because of like how the motor moves in sync with the voice. But the biggest issue with this, you might be thinking, well, it's frozen, it should still work. But the biggest issue with this is they only stay on for like a few seconds, and then they turn off, and their sensors go unresponsive. Like right now they're responsive, but then like when they shut off and turn back on, they're like really unresponsive. Like, you can press the tongue a ton of times, and the lights will just shut off in the eyes, like that. And that's not normal, because they're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to fall asleep. This problem, I want to say it happens for like quite a few reasons. It can happen due to bad design, because obviously this motor is very small, and it's only 6 volt. And the way it works is that it's a little 6 volt motor from like Japan, and it has a little worm gear on the top, and it turns all of the other gears on the inside. It's like a looping system. It basically turns both directions. It turns one direction to move the mouth, and then it turns another direction to loop the animations of the up and down, the eyelids, and the ears. And it, like when you hold in the reset button, they call it the reset dance, that's like it looping the animations. And these go out so easily. I swear, like, one culprit I will say is not using the right batteries. That, unfortunately, is going to happen a lot more nowadays, especially in the future as these get older and older. When they probably get to be 20 or 30 years old, especially, this problem is going to be a lot worse, because by that point, this kind of battery will be far past expired. These are the Duracell, regular Duracell AA the ones that expire 2031. And for some reason, they are extremely difficult to find. They Most places that I've seen usually sell the power boost Duracells, and I don't really trust those, just because just because of the name, and just because of how they have like extra stuff in them from what I've seen on the advertisements, and I don't know if that's necessarily safe for the motors or even the firmware. Another culprit, I will say, is using a certain website or a certain app that can be like a virus. So certain people for a while thought that it wasn't a virus, even the person who got it, but it happened to me too, so I kind of feel like it has something to do with it. There was an app called Personality Changer, and there was the YouTuber Virtual Zoo, and she and someone else claimed that it wasn't the culprit, but I kind of feel like it had something to do with it, because I noticed my boom was starting to move a lot faster. After I used the app, he was starting to move faster. The personalities switched a lot quicker whenever he would change, and I wasn't changing them manually with that app. They would change a lot quicker. So I feel like it kind of overrides the firmware. The app, obviously, you can get the app. It's very difficult to get the app working on an old Android device, because more often than not, it just stays frozen on the splash screen. I'm going to probably sell some devices so people can have a chance at actually getting that. But one big problem, one huge programming oversight with the Furby Boom specifically, is the feisty personality. And that might seem a little odd to you guys, but the feisty personality is it's kind of unfinished. It's like kind of glitchy. And it's it's one of my favorite personalities. When it says its name, like when your Furby says its name, like you can name it with the app, and when it says its name but then says love it not, there are tons of glitches that can happen with the Furby very randomly. And they don't always happen either. Like, sometimes it will get mixed up with other personalities. Like, for instance, it'll literally switch to the sweet personality for like a few seconds, and then just switch right back to feisty. And it's not supposed to do that. It actually you have to physically change the personality yourself. So it's definitely a bug in the firmware. And sometimes it'll even talk in another personality's voice. The eyes won't switch at all. There's also some laziness in the programming. In the hide-and-seek game, it shows one of the animations from the Valley Girl personality, or the Hyper personality. So I love the feisty personality. It's always been like one of my most favorites, just because it's really fun, it's really cool, it's funny, it has very good humor. It's the most unique and most different out of all of them. The only problem is that it can lead to the motor dying just because of the bugs, just because of how many bugs. Even the app on certain devices, if you have a newer Android, if you try to run it on like Android 13 or something, which is I think the last Android version you can run it on, because Android 14 doesn't let you. But if you try to run it on Android 13, what I've heard is that the batteries can overheat in the Furby if you use the translator. So the app can also be a culprit for the motor dying too. There are many different reasons that the motors die in these, and I can't even go over all of them because there are so many reasons. It can be age, it can be poor design, poor wiring, just a glitch within the firmware. Maybe the Furby itself is faulty. Maybe it just moves too fast. Maybe they over-oiled it in the factory. There's a lot of possibilities for why it does this. So how you take these apart? You take off the battery cover, and you remove what I believe. Let me count them real fast. All 8 screws, I believe, from the bottom. I thought it was 6. It's been a while since I've taken these apart. You remove this grid on the bottom of the Furby, and then you lift up the fur. And I'll take some pictures so that we'll know what it needs to look like when it goes back together, because there's a very specific way. If you take it apart, you'll need to make sure you like pull the fur up underneath this grid like it is already. You'll see when I take it apart how the fur is placed kind of up underneath this grid so that it folds underneath the grid, and it doesn't it doesn't fold like down, like it doesn't go over the grid, or there's no like, there's like a little lip, like it's not necessarily a zip tie like a 98 Furby, but it's kind of like that, in like it's similar to that. It's like an elastic band, I'm pretty sure, and that can come loose, and sometimes it can show, so you want to make sure to like push that all underneath this grid as it is right now. And then there is the tail switch you have to worry about. You have to unloop the ribbon from the actual from the inner ribbon. There's two loops. There's a loop that goes inside the tail, and then there's one on the sensor, and you have to unloop the one that's inside the tail from the one on the sensor. Don't take the one off the sensor, because somebody, I got this from an antique store or somewhere like that, and somebody broke it. They either broke it or they took it apart before. The ribbon that's supposed to stay in the switch was completely out. Like when I took it apart, it flew out. The only ribbon that is in this Furby is the one inside the tail, which means it's impossible to actually pull the tail on this Furby, which means you cannot get the crazy personality or even the default personality. You cannot factory reset this Furby. And I don't know if there's a way to fix that if you accidentally manage to tear the ribbon, so just be careful, because obviously the person who owned this really messed it up, because there should definitely be a ribbon right there. So I'm going to remove the screws and then show you basically what you have to deal with. A better example too would be if I take apart one of these. There's a lot of tape that is on the edges of the shell. And it's a pain in the butt too. You kind of have to pull the skin almost all the way up, because there's like one extra screw on the top, I'm pretty sure. Either one or two. So on the booms, I'm pretty sure it's one. Sometimes it's two. It just depends, I guess. So I'll be right back. If the Furby already has batteries in it, you should probably remove them. And then when you take it apart, like if you try to maybe get the motor working again that's already inside the Furby, maybe install batteries in it. And definitely do not put the motor back in while the batteries are still in, or all of the gears that are inside the Furby will come flying out everywhere, and you'll probably lose a bunch of them. They might even break too. And definitely take a lot of pictures too. One design flaw with the booms and 2012s, at least to me, is the fact that the reset button is inaccessible unless you actually take the compartment off. And it's really important with these specific Furbies that you always hit the reset button when taking the batteries out or putting them in, because that can definitely determine how long they last. And on the original 98s, the reset button was not attached to the actual battery compartment. It was kind of like, it was just on the base. Like it was on the base of the Furby, but it was nowhere in the battery compartment. So you could press it without having to open the battery door. And then 2005s do not have a reset button, period. I'm thinking of making a mod maybe that adds a hole into the battery compartment, but the thing is, I still think it's also bad to leave batteries in 2012s in Furby Booms because of how they drain batteries, and also the fact that that can also lead to their motors wearing out faster. I watched a video that somebody made claiming that they saved a Furby's life, but they actually ended up breaking it, and they argued with me too. They basically fixed the Furby at first, because I'm pretty sure the speaker was mute, but they ended up using Panasonic batteries, and I'm guessing maybe that brand isn't very good. Maybe it doesn't have a good relationship with the voltages of the motor, and the motor died. But they claim, no, I didn't kill the motor didn't die. It's like, yeah, it clearly did though. Unfortunately, it would be one thing if they just froze and stopped moving, but they're practically unplayable. Like, you can't even use them when they're frozen like that, because they usually only stay on for a few seconds and then they shut off. And their sensors are usually super unresponsive, and I don't know how that's tied to the motor. Like, I really don't know how that has to do with the motor, but I'm guessing the way it works is that it has to move in order to actually, like read your inputs or something, because of how the voice and the motor are connected, as I said earlier. So it might have something to do with that. Once you have all the screws removed, definitely put them somewhere where you're not going to lose them, and then take the grid off, and you can see how the fur is. You can see how the fur is currently, so I'll take pictures, definitely take pictures to know how the fur goes back on so that when you put this grid back on, you there's no fur exposed, like that's going like on top of the grid, like it's all underneath this, because it just looks better that way. And it's kind of weird to me that there's no holes for the screws. Like there's little holes here, but the screws basically penetrate the fabric, which is a really weird design in my opinion. And now you want to start pulling up. It's a lot easier with this one because it's been taken apart multiple times, but with one that hasn't been taken apart, it'll take a little longer. They're still much easier to open than a 98 Furby, because 98 Furbies are very difficult. So this is the loop. You want to undo this. So you don't want to cut it. You just want to kind of pull, you don't want to untie it either. You just kind of want to pull it off the switch, because the way it works is there's a loop inside the tail and also a loop here. So I'm gonna try to undo it. It's gonna be hard to do with the camera, especially now. Okay, so all right, you want to pull it. You want to kind of get it started like this, and then just kind of pull it like that, and then it comes undone. Except it's not undone yet. It's tied still. Oh, there we go. I see it. So the loop inside the tail is still connected, as you can see. So you wanna just try to undo this. And there. So I pulled the one on the tail. Away from this one. Don't cut it. Don't do anything that's going to break it, because I don't know if it's fixable if you do that. The tails can stop working on these. I'm guessing that's age. I don't know how you fix it. I remember there used to be a video on how to fix it. I think that video might be gone now. I'm not really sure. And there's like a trick you can do if you're like replacing the speaker. You unclip these wires, but the thing is, it's not the same on all booms. Like sometimes the wires are not in this hole. Like sometimes they're outside of it, but on this one they're inside the hole. So it's really difficult to do. And there's a tutorial by someone that showed how to actually not take the clips completely off the ears. You can de-skin the whole Furby. Like you can actually take the skin completely off and then get to the motor that way. Like, I mean, you can take the back completely off. And there's like a way to not damage the clips. But I'm going to be honest with you, most people damage the clips on these, and it's very difficult to not damage the clips. I honestly don't have any clue how you don't damage the clips. If anyone could please tell me in the comments, not only would that help me, but it would also help the people who are attempting this. But the clips basically just hold the ears in place. They don't actually control they don't really control the ears' movement. Like, they do to an extent. Like, they can definitely make, like, a difference on how far they go down or how far they go up, or, like, how loose one is compared to the other, or, like, if they, like, on this one, I sometimes have to help him. Like, sometimes he gets stuck and I have to move the ears up because the clips are undone. Like, they're in, but they're broken. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, the ears still move, and if you're fine with that, then leave it. But if you want to see a tutorial that talks about how to not damage them, I'll try to find one and link it. But this just goes over the main idea, which is replacing the motor. But to get the back off, you do have to take the clips out, and I don't know how you don't damage them. Okay, now, once you have the skin pulled up, which I do not, you want to basically pull it up, keep pulling, don't pull any wires, just keep pulling. Yeah, film me. Don't film my face, just film me doing it. You want to pull up